Let's get painting. Boom, boom. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Atomic Mass Transmissions Live. I'm your host, Dallas. And today we're going to be painting our Enchantress. Now, about an hour ago, I posted up a picture and I asked for a couple of suggestions, and a few came in. And somebody said do it with dark metals, and kind of inspired me. It has been too long. We had a little break, little pause in the schedule to get some stuff done. But I was inspired, and I'm like, you know what? I took the person's idea. I'm like, let's do black metal. And I'm going to take it serious. I'm going to do black metal. So we're going to have fun with this Enchantress. As many of you know, we have a hashtag painting protocol challenge every month. Currently, we're unable to search through Instagram for those. As soon as we're able to, we'll be posting those pics and get you the next go with that. It's been too long. Hopefully join in Schick on Tuesday. He was painting up the upcoming release of She-Hulk, one of my favorite miniatures, sculpted by Dave Kidd. Super fun. I love that big, powerful, she's about to chuck some giant piece of I-beam into some poor fool's noggin because she's going to win the day. So let's just kick it on over. Let's just get painting our Enchantress and see what we can get to in 1 hour. Let's boogie Enchantress. So hopefully everybody's doing good. Hopefully everybody's healthy and had a great holiday. I know everybody at Atomic Mass had a fantastic holiday. I got to see a whole bunch of pictures of foods being eaten and stuff like that. So hopefully everybody else had some delicious foods and got to share it with those close to you. Because I know the Atomic Mass family definitely did. All right. Simone and Josh up in the chat. So I'm going to make a little bit of mess here, and that's okay. Painting miniatures, of course, is the fine art of correcting one's mistakes. So I don't care if I get a little flesh tone on the cape. It's all fine and dandy. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Josh needs to get back to work. Josh has so much work to do right now. Josh, the busy boy of Atomic Mass. Looks like my finger got a little oils on there. That's okay. Uh-oh, BK in the house. Can I talk about what Josh is gonna do? Give me permission. I like spilling beans. Oh boy, I got a little oil on my miniature. That's okay. If I go over it a couple times, the paint will eventually stick. I have permission. Josh is getting a sweet new gig as a art director. No longer in control of the marketing. So if Josh can no longer be the one to prevent Schick from spoiling. You all know I don't spoil. I follow the rules. If there's anything I am, it's a totally upstanding, law-abiding citizen. That Dallas Kemp just always following the law. Gotta get my drink. So BK will be the one, I believe, in control of all of those spoils. All right, let's take a little purple and black. Let's mix it together. Grab a little magenta. I just got a couple different colors out on my palette. As usual, my palette's a hot mess. Josh has been doing art direction on Marvel Crisis Protocol for a while with Shook and I, and it's finally taken over the reins. We're very proud of Josh. So the idea here is I'm going to do black metal. What that means, I'm putting a little purple, magenta on the cloth here. I will, just to kind of block some ideas in. Two years. It's been 2 years. Atomic Mass Games. We started our little scrappy studio almost 2 years ago, working on fun miniatures to bring to everybody. It has been an absolute joy and a pleasure to work on all this, and we love what the future has in store for us. Hopefully you enjoy it too. Let's get take a little red tone here. Fabupandu. We're gonna go dark metal, death metal. I want death metal Enchantress. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is I need to establish the flesh tones, and then we're gonna paint her eyes with some really, I think, dark makeup to really get that, like, she's going to the rock show look. Purpley dark cloth. We'll choose a really awesome metally, death metally magic color. I'm taking suggestions as usual. Always taking suggestions. I love to have everybody in the chat help me come up with what kind of random nonsense we're going to do, because I never really have a plan when I'm painting my miniatures for fun. Studio miniatures are totally different. I always have a very distinct plan. That's totally different. That's a different thought process. Wholly different ideas there. So, but for this, we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna get her on a table. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do something a little more interesting and wacky. Whoops, dropped my brush. So I just took a little bit of red and mixed it into my base flesh tone. Of course I hit the magenta. A little bit in the flesh tone and use that as like a preliminary shade, just to kind of start building in the tones. I want this. This is all going to be a black costume, but I want to establish that's like a. It's going to be a black costume, but I want to establish some purples. So when we go and shade it, we'll leave the purple in the highlight to really get some nice effect here. So over at Zenithal Prime, just doing a light glaze. Magentas and purples. seriously, I grabbed this miniature and it looks like my fingers weren't perfectly clean because that happens sometimes, but if you just give it a little second, the paint will stick, just like that. I'm also painting very, very thin. That happens sometimes if you accidentally touch the miniature. Yeah, she's a controller. She can create illusions. She is called Enchantress for a reason. She can kind of manipulate the mind and make you do stuff. She's an Asgardian. So yeah, actually, she's a little bit bigger than our average human size characters. Probably do 2 coats of this. And this miniature was sculpted by one Gail Gaumont. Gail does a lot of the stuff for us. It was a lot of fun coming up with a way to really bring in that magic-y like look to her with Gail. Like my original sketch was, the magic was very loose and just kind of like, she's up on some magic. And then Gail and I worked to kind of define it. So it worked out pretty good. There you go. Looks like shit came in, dropping the knowledge. Can I paint this in an hour? That's the true question. Right now this is very purpley. Don't worry, we're going to bring it to black. Don't worry. Let's just block in some, kick up the magenta in a couple areas there. This is very rough. Doesn't got to be perfect right now. Yeah, I feel like I agree. I feel like you can guess the obvious one there, Greg. Okay, back to the skin tone. This time I'm going to take the basic skin tone and let's add a little green to it. My dry palette's a mess. My dry palette's a mess. I'm not allowed to give spoilers, Greg. I'm not the spoiler guy. I follow the rules. I'm a loose cannon in many ways, but not that way. So if you put a little green over top of that red, you get like a brown tone and start shading the flesh very well. It doesn't really matter what skin tone I'm going for. Dark or light. I follow a lot of the same philosophy. We've done several videos, but a lot of the same philosophy gets used, and it's just a matter of adjusting the value up or down. And there are exceptions. If you were to say paint like albino or incredibly dark, you might skip the green step, but those are exceptions. But typically I follow a lot of the same recipe. If I can remember, that's rude. I'm a terrible rememberer. I'm a terrible rememberer. Let's get a little more black on the brush. Start shading the purples. There's no way I can remember. There's no way I can remember her affiliations. I do know one. She's definitely Asgard. Come to a paint stream with a painter, you're going to get painting. Alright, we're just going to keep darkening that up. I'm a little out of focus. I think that helped. Is that the only question we got? I'm here to answer questions that I can answer, of course. I'm just going to keep adding black. Put it in the shadows. Do a real quick blend up. I have met Luke. Now the idea here will be if I do this like twice and even so this has got a lot of purple in it still, but if I go a little more black and leave the shadows a little further down, I'm just going to keep creating a blacker costume. See, y'all asking a bunch of questions I can't answer. I haven't been given permission to answer. I think we're capable of not losing focus on stuff, though. We got an excellent team of amazingly skilled people. Okay, let's mix the red and the green together without the base flesh tone I picked. I think everybody in the studio is currently watching me, so everybody knows what I'm doing. I just want just the slightest amount of shadow on that far side of the face. Don't really need the shadow under the eyes because I am going to be putting dark makeup on. What if the team gets bigger? How can you spread thin when your team gets bigger? Wampa Stompa, hey Dos, if I remember correctly from a few weekends, you don't thin your paints at all that much. No, that's not necessarily what I said. It's all based on technique and what technique I'm doing. Oh, I got a little dark. Let's kill that, thin that out. Currently, what I'm doing is very thin paints. If I were to do a more traditional two-brush style, I would thin it way less. I would go straight out of the pot almost. Like it's all based on technique. There's literally no, this is how much you thin your paints. Everybody thins it different. And for me, it's all based off technique and what technique I'm choosing to do. Because I switch techniques constantly when I'm painting. I don't typically paint with one technique in mind the whole miniature through. I will switch and adjust or try new stuff. So I like to, it's all based off technique. So right now the paint is on a wet palette and very thin, and I'm using a damp brush to blend it. If I was doing a more traditional two-brush blend, I'm gonna grab some color that's not really the color I want. Straight out the pot, that's not even straight out the pot. I put it on very thick, and then I use a damp brush to drag it out. I got something on this miniature. You can see it's beating up. But I'd actually put it on very thick, and then I use a damp brush to drag it out. And the further you drag it out, with it's not beating, the more of a blend you can get. You can get some very amazing blends by learning that technique. I can get almost airbrush smooth blends with just two paint brushes. But that took a lot of practice. But it is very possible. Throw a little highlight there. Have you ever thought about doing alt sculpts? We do think about doing alt sculpts, and if we find the right place and time, you know, never know. We think about doing lots of things. There ain't no think I ain't thunk. Auctioning off these minis paint on camera for charities. We haven't really ever talked about what these. Most of the ones we paint on the streams are actually mine and Chick's personal miniatures. You never know what the future might hold. You know, maybe we can do something in the future where we can do something. Who knows? But most of the ones you see on screen are mine and Chick's personal miniatures, because for me it's much more interesting if you see me paint something that's mine, right? This is how I would do it, right? This isn't necessarily me doing it for the company or something like that. This is mine. So it's much more personal, and you can see how I approach my miniature, right? I'm not painting a studio, you know, because this would be a completely different stream if I was painting a studio miniature. This is how I approach mine. I think that's philosophically much more interesting for the viewer, right? We can both get a little more invested in the lesson, hopefully. Plus, if you catch me at a show, once a convention, when we're able to all get back together and paint or play games together, you know, and you face against my Asgardians, maybe you'll see my Enchantress across the table. Another layer of black. Like I said, this is very thin, and I'm just dragging it across with a damp brush. Just keep darkening it up, because I want to start really pushing in the darkness. So she's got dark purple costume. I'm thinking teal magic is going to be a way to go. Alright, I always paint the eyes black first. Now, because this is our black metal Enchantress, give her a little darkness under the eyebrow. There might be a little purple mixed in here, that's fine. Alright, now she's dark, she's death metal, so let's get a little magenta, a little black. lipstick. I'll really thin this down. Maybe grab a little bit of mixing medium to make it very translucent. So she has some black metal face paint. Yay or nay? Simone, thoughts? Let's close off this cape. Okay, let's do some. So let's play around here. Let me think. Let's see if this is her eye. Maybe something like that coming from it. What do you think? Thoughts there? Maybe give her a little bit of that. Sadie, nay, no makeup. Wow. We got some contradictory opinions. Let's give her some Alice Cooper-y makeups. A little bit thinner. My brush is not the best. Okay, that's really going to pop once we do the eyes. Take a little off-white. What's my go-to off-white? Usually like a very yellow white. You can see there. I think it's called something Sands. Yeah, or High Key Yellow is pretty good, or Moonray Flesh from Scale 75 is pretty good. Let's grab a little pink into the magenta, grab a little purple. Oh, Vinther82. About to start painting up Mystique. Which colors would you mix into the blue skin tone for highlights and shadows? That depends on your blue. Really depends on your blue. I prefer things like, if I'm, like when I did my Mystique, I definitely went more, added some teals into it for the highlights. and purples down into the shadows. I want that a little more magenta. What brushes do I use? Typically use Winsor Newtons. I like a good natural hair brush. Personally, I like brushes that have, so this is the ferrule, right, the male part, and that's the belly and the tip, right? So I like a brush with a big belly and a thin tip. The belly, like many very high-end brushes, have a thinner belly than other brushes. I like the bigger belly. What that does is gives me a lot of paint in there. So for me, the way I paint, I like a lot of paint in my brush to really lather it on. But I got the fine point because I need precision. So that's what I look for in a brush. So of course some good watercolor brushes, you know, always useful. Oh, of course, Vinther. Always happy to help out. It's what we're here to do. Inspire. Educate, maybe. Who knows? So we can all get our miniatures on the table. So we can do what we want to do, have fun, you know, with our friends and family. Because, I mean, that's what gaming's about, right? You know, building a community, you know, and, you know, making people feel welcome, and they got some, you know, it's a fun hobby, so, you know, it's important to do that. We all just want to get our miniatures painted and have a really good game against our friends. It's our little headgear. Slightly awkward angle for camera. At this point, I'd probably flip her upside down if I wasn't on camera. What shades of red? I would actually add, if you find a good burnt or umber. Umber is a brown that has a lot of red to it. If you find a good umber, mix that in to a good brick red R.D. Jones, and you're going to get that nice. Am I a little dark? It looks really great on the camera. But a little umber mixing into some brick red will get you that nice dark look you're probably looking for. I'm actually going to switch to a bigger brush. My small brush is pretty beat up. I typically just use water to thin my paints. I don't use a lot of medium. If I use medium, for me, the way I paint, the only time I really use mediums is I'll use a like art medium, like to not necessarily, it's not to thin the paint, but it's you want something like I use stuff that has a heavy body, because what that does is takes the paint and makes it more translucent. So I'm not typically using medium to thin my paints. I use water. That's just the way I paint though. I mean, when I say the way I paint, I'm a brush licker, so I don't really want mediums in my mouth. No, I don't typically use any flow enhancer ever. I just painted those eyes with a size 2. Because I have a really bad habit of just grabbing whatever brush I have. But with a good watercolor brush, you don't need a tiny brush. I actually don't like, that goes back to talking about the brushes, right? Is I actually don't like tiny brushes. I know that there's a couple brushes out there that are like, you know, the ultra mega super tiny brush. I personally not a fan of those because I like stuff with a bigger belly. Like I like the bigger belly on my brush. I want paint on my brush, but I want a fine tip. So that's what I look for in a brush. So when I'm picking a brush, I find stuff that has large bellies and fine tips. So I don't need a mega tiny brush to do fine detail, right? So I mean, let's take this for example. This is a size, well, you can't see it because I wore it off. This is size 2. It's probably like 3 years old. How tiny can we paint? I got real quiet. So that's a size 2. So it's all about having that really good point. What miniature from the upcoming Deadpool video are you most excited to paint on screen? Holy cow, what a great question. Because I can talk about those a little bit, because we've shown them a little bit. That's Scarlet Witch. I'm super excited for that Scarlet Witch. And a taco truck. Absolutely. I actually started my taco truck. If I got permission, I'll show it. I also started working on my Cyclops that I haven't shown anybody. I'm doing a blue and black Cyclops. He looks pretty cool. I'll finish him up and post pictures. Why Scarlet Witch? That miniature was a lot of fun to design, and I think that she just turned out really amazing. But I think everything in that wave is pretty amazing. Like, it was just a lot of fun to, that whole wave was a lot of fun to work on. I think everybody involved just had a lot of fun with that wave. Bob and the taco truck, and oh man, that Quicksilver was so fun to like work on. So a lot of fun stuff in that wave. Thank you, Lancelot. Yeah, I think the dark tones is really working well for our Enchantress here. And I'm at the point now where I'm just kind of like keep adding like little tiny highlights here and there. We need to darken that headgear. Yeah, that Scarlet Witch, like, really neat design for a miniature. Like, if you look closely, her hands do not touch the magic. Like, the magic is flowing around them. So it was a lot of fun to work on that. Thank you, Wappa Stompa. I'm really enjoying my Cyclops. Just a different scheme. I just kind of took the idea of the blue and made it much darker, and then added a cool black, or a very neutral black. Sorry, a very neutral black as the accessory color. So I think it worked out pretty good. We got 10 minutes, kids. Rapid fire those questions. See what we can answer. And trust me, we got lots of stuff coming up in the new year. It's going to be exciting to show everybody what we're working on, of course. I haven't decided what color her cape should be yet. I really think teal magic. Let's throw a little teal on there just to see how it looks. One more cyan. Let's do a cyan. Maybe. Let's vote. What color should the magic be? Her eyes should definitely be glowing, real intense magenta, I think. Almost everything almost everything I paint is a mix, so I don't know if there's anything I favor. You know, if you can't find what you like, mix it up. Sometimes you just gotta mix it up. Like I think I seriously just painted that eye with a 3 because I wasn't paying attention to what I had in my hand. Like I said, the brush size doesn't matter. It's all about learning control, developing control, finding what works for you. You know, it's all about that. It's all about finding the good tip. And that, for me, I like the big belly, right? Like, I'm just going back to the brushes again. You know, if you find a good tip, a lot of times the belly is not very big, and you'll find that, like, oh, the paint kind of dries up. Have you ever, like, gone to paint the eye, and, like, right before you touch it, the paint's all dry? And it's like, well, that's why that big belly is so good on a brush. Because it takes longer for the paint to dry out. And then if it does, like your hand is right there, you can give it a little twist and you'll break it all loose. I think teal is the winner. I agree. We'll start blocking in some cyan. We'll just refine this as we go. Since it's magic, it's not going to be super perfect. Doesn't need to be super perfect. You want some imperfections to show, like, maybe the maelstrom of magic is I think the cape should just be black. Uh-oh, we only got 5 minutes. 5 minutes! I'm curious to hear more questions. It's been so long since I've talked to you all. You gotta give me questions. Give me something to talk about. Let's go with a solid coat of black. I want to go solid black. Not sure what I got on my poor measure. She's repelling the water. Maybe I accidentally waterproofed her when I waterproofed my boots the other day. Alright, it'll grip. It'll grip, it'll grip, it'll grip. Just like that. Just like that. And over the shoulder. Yeah, I think the black cape is going to work really, really good. I'll leave a little bit of the purple showing through, I think, up front. Purple hair, black purple hair. Well, let's leave the purple out, actually. Why black on the cape? Well, I will highlight it with a gray and leave it much more neutral. But instead of using the zenith, I want like a nice solid like mega black. So what I'll do is just base coat it all black, and then I'll use a more traditional blend style to get the gray on. And then what I'll do is I'll mix up a super black, which is typically blacker than most paints, and that's usually can be achieved by mixing your black paint with some blue and teal inks, and you'll get an even blacker color. And I'll use that to shade it. So, because I want the cape to be very, very mega black. Like typically when you're watching, I'm using that zenith. I'm just not using that. I'm gonna blend in my highlights, and then I'm gonna re-darken it again. With mega black. A little more highlight. Especially now that we've had that black makeup. Oh, it's 2 o'clock and I'm getting the shutter down. Continue her next week. I can continue next week. Sounds good to me. We're really close to done. I don't even know if I have another hour left on her. So that's the plan. I think we will go teal on the magic. Keep highlighting. We'll go back to highlighting the costume, and then we're going to do a more traditional highlight on the cape, and then mix up a super black to shade that, and then we'll add some more tones into the hair to keep that like punk rocky feel to it. We will probably add a little ink to the eyes and a little highlight to the lips, but other than that, I feel like we got pretty dark looking metal Enchantress. Let's kick it back over here. Boop, that's me. So remember, Tuesday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, join Mr. Will Schick. I think he's painting up, continuing his work on the sensational She-Hulk. Oh, Lancelot, yeah, an ombre would look good at its at. He'll be painting up, finishing up his sensational She-Hulk. Looking awesome with the I-beam, ready to bash face with it. I guess I'm coming back next week to finish up our Enchantress, and soon enough hopefully we'll be able to sort through the Instagram posts for the painting protocol challenges and get those out and share them with y'all and stuff like that. So keep a lookout. Remember, check us out on, as I pause to do, not that. Check us out on Instagram, Atomic Mass Transmissions, on Twitter and Facebook for all the latest news, information, and releases from Atomic Mass Games. And we look forward to the future and hanging out with you guys. So until next week, stay safe and be the hero you can be. Bye, guys. And Black metal enchantress. Enchanting enchantress. Black metal painting. Unleash the magic from the depths unseen.